Chapter 15. Breaching the tunnels. 2 flashes, Commander. We have a go. Karnik's lookout relayed the message that Robert and his team were prepared and ready to repel. As Karnik looked around, he could see soldiers ready for what was to come. Many he had served with, and many had come back into service from wars that had been fought long ago, much like Bellamy, who just relayed the signal to him. Bellamy was the oldest, having fought in World War II. Now the old soldier had been rejuvenated and was fighting for his country once more. Karnik was grateful for Bellamy's presence here, having fought in a war without modern technology that was made useless weeks ago. Now, more than ever, the experiences of men like Bellamy were needed. Karnik was ready to give the order to attack the tunnel's entrance. "Bellamy, it's time. Head for your tank." Although it was many decades ago, Karnik felt that Bellamy was the best choice to operate the antiquated tank they had recovered from the local VFW. There was no ammunition for it, but Bellamy laid out his plan to Karnik to use it as a battering ram and protection for troops as they advanced on the tunnel. Now that plan was being put in place. At the age of 89, Bellamy still had plenty of fight in him, and with all the excitement pumping adrenaline through his body, his main concern wasn't being shot, but his heart not being able to handle the excitement. Grabbing his M1 Garand, he stood, his cracking joints catching the attention of those around him. "Hey, Pops, you want to keep it down? The guys in the tunnels don't need to know we're coming," a soldier remarked from nearby. "You want to see how loud the buttstock of my rifle is against your skull?" Although everyone knew the two were having fun to lighten the mood, many were not so sure that Bellamy didn't mean it, and thought twice about any future ripping on his age. Bellamy didn't wait around for a response to his question. He turned with a grin and thought how great it was to feel alive again. Hearing the tank engine come to life was a sound that Karnik never felt would excite him as much as it had now. Everything was in motion, and with the growing visibility, he could see his troops lined along each side of the road, prepared to fall in behind Bellamy as he led the way. Karnik wanted to be the lead man going in, but understood that sometimes he had to be the one coordinating the attack. Turning his attention back to the tunnel, he still saw no movement or any indication that there might be something behind the large steel doors. Keeping his eyes on the objective, he could hear the tank's tracks begin to turn, bringing his attention to the 3 soldiers ready to fire at 4 shoulder-propelled rockets. Seeing that they were prepared with a spotter keeping an eye. On his position for the signal, Karnik turned to watch the tank's progress. As the tank passed through the 2 columns of troops, they fell in behind as Bellamy continued to move forward toward the door. Seeing that they were all in position, Karnik turned and gave 2 flashes of his light to the AT-4s. Within seconds, the attack truly began. From his position, Karnik watched as smoke billowed out from the rear of the rocket tubes, and a ball of fire propelled the rockets forward. With their accuracy and high explosive packages delivered in a second's time, they struck with devastating power. Rock and steel flew from all around the edges of the large door at which they were aimed. As the dust cleared, another and final round of rockets flew, with 2 striking along the edge of the door once more, and 1 through the center. Karnik and the others' greatest fear was that there would be a blast door just beyond the already heavily built door they could see, and that those in the tank would be killed on impact. Soon they would know, but not until the smoke cleared. With the tank 100 yards away, Robert and his team began their part in the operation by throwing smoke grenades down below as the tank picked up speed for its charge. "Ready!" Robert shouted, ensuring that everyone was on the same page. "We go right before the strike on my order. We will be the first to enter." Robert pushed everything out of his mind except for the one thing that wouldn't go away. Finding the man he failed to stop from killing Sawyer. He knew it would be a long shot, but hoped he would be inside. Lined up with the tunnel door, Bellamy gave the tank's engine all the throttle it had as the other 3 braced themselves. Bellamy lined up the pointed end of the high-strength steel ram, hastily mounted to the front of the tank by Marks and his men, with the center of the door. Bellamy thought about how the last time he was in battle he was always so full of fear, but now, decades later, in this moment, he felt pure excitement. He watched the door as adrenaline coursed through his body, not thinking about dying from slamming into a blast door, but about how great it felt to be a soldier once again. Karnak watched the tank race to the door, and as it all but vanished into the smoke, he wanted to close his eyes, not wanting to know if they made it, but that wasn't an option. Karnak listened, willing his hearing to pick up all that it could, not wanting to miss a thing that might tell him of their success. When the steel of the tank and the door met, even a deaf person would have heard the collision. Karnak had even thought for a second that the tank had fired at the door, but knowing they had no ammunition, he feared the worst. Blast door, he thought. Jumping up from his position, Karnak ran for the door, unable to keep himself in the coordinator's role any longer. As he moved, he could see Robert's team already halfway down the bluff and disappearing into the smoke. All Karnak could think of was getting to the men and bringing them back to safety if the tank hadn't been destroyed, completely trapping them inside. Ahead, Karnak's troops were already running into the smoke, with more than half the column out of sight as the rest funneled in behind them. Karnak could feel a breeze begin to blow and sunlight warming his skin as he neared. Karnak stopped, frozen in place as the smoke began clearing to slowly reveal the tank's turret lying on the ground. Karnak felt that his fear of a blast door had become reality as he watched the remainder of the column move into the smoke. After the last man entered, Karnak had another thought. How were they all hidden by the little smoke that remained? Then he saw the jagged steel torn by the tank as it passed through. Moving once more, Karnak ran through the entrance as weapons fire echoed off the walls. Only slowing for a second at the size of the place, it was much larger than he could have imagined. Karnak made his way to where the fighting was taking place. Running around men and large earth pillars, Karnak made his way to the action, stopping just short of the gunfight. From his position, he saw Robert's team exchanging fire with a few men who were loading up semis from one of 6 large doors that were apparently storage units. The sight gave him great satisfaction, knowing that he had made the right choice in ordering the operation. Now Karnak knew he had to secure what they had achieved. Unconcerned with the men Robert's team was dealing with, Karnak turned to the rest of the men securing areas all over the tunnels as small skirmishes took place all around him. Karnak quickly realized the one thing he didn't see was the tank, but he could still hear it. Running back to the front of the cave, Karnak looked down at what looked to be a well-lit highway. Only this highway was underground. On it, he could see Bellamy still charging ahead with at least 100 men and women following him.